Okay, and now I'm going to share the screen with um, this window and this. And does everybody see that screen?
Yeah.
Okay. And so just let me know if you have a question, and I'll have moments where I'm going to want to stop it. But we're at 10 participants, so I think we're ready to go. So let's rock and roll. And let me know if you hear this soundtrack. Do you hear that? Okay, good. Tonight, you're going to have a study on what was going on before the triumphal entry into Jerusalem, which is typically where our Easter studies, when we want to go deep, begin. We're going to back things up even further. And so I'm calling this Lazarus Come Forth, because that is the pivotal moment in what is going on in the drama that we're going to see here. So these are edited texts from the Gospel of John, and it's very important to understand that John's the last gospel written. So he is including this whole Lazarus story, which Luke does also, but Matthew and Mark do not. So Matthew's gospel written around 50 to 55, Mark around 70 to 80, Luke somewhere 70 to 90, 95, and John is the last one, 90 to 110. The reason Matthew and Mark don't mention this Lazarus thing is they were trying to hunt him down to kill him, because this miracle was too powerful and dramatically increased the interest in Jesus Christ. And so the Sanhedrin said, you know what, we got to kill Lazarus. That's all there is to it. And so he had a target on him from the time he was raised from the dead. So let's talk about that, because that's a lot of information. Most people, when they want to study Easter, they start with Good Friday, right? And my position is that the real plots happened because Jesus decided by God's plan that Lazarus would be resurrected, so that all of his disciples could see him bring somebody back from the dead, because they would be tasked with doing that kind of thing. And then people try to discredit that by saying, well, it's only in Luke and John, it's not in Matthew and Mark. Matthew and Mark were writing their gospels at the time when the Sanhedrin was still trying to kill Lazarus. They had killed Jesus, but Lazarus was a symbol of Jesus' power to raise the dead. And so they wanted to kill Lazarus. Does this remind you of any deep state activity? Have we seen people who are threatening the power base who get taken out? We've seen a couple attempts on Trump. Those are only the ones we know about. There's been a half a dozen. And Kennedy's, both of them, Martin Luther King, all the way back to Lincoln. Okay, this is all about preserving power and money. So there's nothing new under the sun. The Bible says it. And so this is significant. And all the events leading up to it are absolutely surgical by what Jesus refers to as the appointed time. And that is really significant when we think about our own lives, because the disciples had just seen them attempt to stone Jesus, and then they leave and go out of town because he wants to spend time thinking or teaching them without distraction. And now he's saying, all right, let's go back because Lazarus is sick. And they're going, wait a second, wait a second. They just tried to stone you. Maybe we shouldn't go there. And his premise with them is it's not the appointed time. You don't have anything to worry about. All of this is on a tight script. And I would say to you that everything that's going on in our world right now is on a tight script. And you're going to hear that more and more and more. Most people still hear it and they think, well, what are you talking about? Or they talk about kabuki theater or whatever. That you're not even, the people that you see uh, are not those people. You see Hillary Clinton in all these clips and going in front of the Congress. I'll just tell you, that's not Hillary Clinton. Okay. And even Trump, if you pay close attention, there's like five to six Trumps that they are using. There's the real Donald Trump's around, but all of this is high tech and it's AI and it's Hollywood makeup technology and all of that. These latex masks that you can put on and look almost exactly like the person. The one thing they haven't figured out yet is how your ears attach to your body because, you know, some people have dangling lobes, some people have attached lobes, all that kind of thing. I don't want to go off in the weeds like this. I'm just saying all of this is coming together. So let's continue, unless anyone has a question. This is going to be about Easter, not about all of the different theories of what's going on now. But I do want to tie in the parallels. Any question? Okay, so this is all very fascinating. It's very deep state stuff. It could be a movie, and let's get into it. It says, now early in the morning, he came again into the temple, and all the people came to him. Now just think about that. He comes to the temple early. He knows that the deep state and the temple are trying to find any way that they can arrest him. And where does he go? He goes to this place that was called the Women's Hall, right in the center of everything. And the Pharisees renamed it the treasury because they filled it full of boxes for the donations to the temple. And it says he came into the temple and all the people came to him. Now, just imagine the tension of that with them not going to be taught by the temple priests. And he sat down and taught them. Then the scribes and Pharisees brought to him a woman caught in adultery. Now, just even that scene, he's teaching in the temple. He's having a meaningful, thoughtful Rabboni moment with a whole bunch of people, and they come dragging in some poor woman that they want to victimize and completely shatter the atmosphere of the Son of God teaching people who earnestly want to know the truth about God. This is how awful these deep state temple people are. And it's how awful they are here. It reminds me of SWAT teams going to houses of people at 5 o'clock in the morning and putting gun sights on infants and mothers holding infants, and all of it because somebody was praying outside an abortion mill. It's that kind of awful emissaries of Satan stuff. So then the scribes and Pharisees brought to him a woman caught in adultery. And when they set her in the midst, they said to him, "Teacher, this woman was caught in adultery in the very act." This is what graphic pigs these people are. "Now Moses in the law commanded us that such should be stoned. What do you say?" This they said, testing him, that they might have something of which to accuse him. But Jesus stooped down and wrote on the ground with his finger, as though he did not hear. Any questions up till this point? Anyone wondering what he wrote in the ground? Probably everyone. Do you think we have an answer to that?
Was the he who is without sin cast the first stone, right?
No.
Oh,
We don't have an answer to that.
Oh,
That's what an awful lot of people think, right? Because it would make sense. But I think we have to accept that if God wanted us to know, he would have made it clear in that moment and in the Bible. And instead, the takeaway is that Jesus pays them no mind. They're the most powerful people in that society, and he totally disregards them. He doesn't respond to their question. He doesn't even look at them. He just starts doing something in the dirt, drawing or writing, or I have no idea. But it is a lesson for us when people in authority want to confront us, especially with this kind of gotcha stuff, right? And we see gotcha stuff all the time on the news, either when they're trying to trap somebody or if they definitely don't want somebody trapped. It's like watching a T-ball game. They set up the most obvious, stupid questions for the people that they're in favor of. All right, let's continue. So they meant for this to shatter the whole scene and disrupt and everybody to be excited that they caught this woman and they were all going to see her killed right in front of them. And instead, he doesn't even respond to them. He doesn't respond to the demons. He squats down and starts writing in the dirt. This is the Son of God. This is how he handles these demoniacs who only want power and money. So when they continued asking him, he raised himself up and said to them, "He who is without sin among you, let him throw a stone at her first." And again, he stooped down and wrote on the ground. Then those who heard it, being convicted by their conscience, went out one by one, beginning with the oldest, even to the last. So let's talk about that. Gene, you said some people think what he's writing is he who is without sin cast the first stone. Other people think he's writing the sins of each one of those priests. I can't tell you. But what they do tell us is that the conviction happened to the older priests first, down to the younger priests. What do you think of that? What does that mean? What's our takeaway supposed to be from that? There's no wrong answer.
the older you get, the more sins you've committed.
Well, I think there's some real truth in that. That the older you get, the more you start thinking about the issue of salvation, whatever your belief system is. But then there's something in your resume that could keep you out. And the older you are, the more of that that sin paraphernalia is on your mind. And younger people are more into yeah, let's stone this chick and, let's confront this guy who's threatening our religion. And, they're all in on the adrenaline of the event. And the older people have seen all that come and go, and they don't respect it. So they're more reflective. These are my guesses. We don't have an answer on this. But I think it's fascinating that God doesn't tell us what Jesus is writing in the dirt. But he does tell us that the older priests left the scene first. And this was a calculated event. They would have had to have somebody set this woman up, right? Somebody go and offer her money or seduce her or whatever, and then planned ahead. They all rush in and catch her with her clothes off, whatever, and they say, we caught her in the very act. We all saw what was going on, so there's no refuting it. She has to be stoned immediately, and we're going to trap Jesus with this. And then the older ones are the ones who are in power. They're the first to leave. They're the first to know, yeah, this is never going to work. This is never going to work. All right, let's continue. And Jesus was left alone, and the woman standing in the midst. Jesus had raised himself up and saw no one but the woman. He said to her, "Woman, where are those accusers of yours? Has no one condemned you?" She said, "No one, Lord." And Jesus said to her, "Neither do I condemn you. Go and sin no more." Now that to me is hugely powerful. He gets up, he paid no heed to them. He didn't know if they were there or gone, whatever. He looks around and sees nobody. And he asks her, "Where are your accusers?" And she says, "There's none." And then he says, "And neither do I. I'm the Son of God." And the argument against becoming a Christian is that it's all so much judgment and restriction and everything. And the Son of God says, "And neither do I condemn you. Go and sin no more." So it's a hugely beautiful moment in our faith. Any questions or comments about any of it? All right, let's continue. The Pharisees therefore said to him, "You bear witness of yourself. Your witness is not true." Jesus answered and said to them, "Even if I bear witness of myself, my witness is true. For I know where I came from and where I am going. But you do not know where I come from and where I am going. You judge according to the flesh. I judge no one. And yet, if I do judge, my judgment is true. For I am not alone, but I am with the Father who sent me. It is also written in your law that the testimony of two men is true. I am one who bears witness of myself, and the Father who sent me bears witness of me." So that is a real turn of the table on these guys who are all experts in the law. They're saying, your witness is not true. And here he's saying, yeah, by your own law, it's true, because I have two witnesses. There's me and there's my Father who sent me. And these guys have never been talked to this way. How could they have been? And it's becoming more and more evident to them that they cannot deal with this guy. And if you can't deal with him, you need to kill him. And that's really the determination that much of the power brokers in our country, it's the way they see Trump. They can't deal with him because no matter how often you sue him, put him in court, threaten his family, threaten his businesses and everything, he just keeps coming back. And I personally, I believe that Trump's not a perfect tool, but God chose him as a tool because of that relentless spirit that he has, that he just will not stop. And for a guy who's 79 to still have the schedule that he does, do everything he does, God is doing something to give this guy an almost supernatural energy. And when you see him in front of the press or in these um, uh, something that we've never seen in the history of our country. Open cabinet meetings with the press there and everybody. I mean, talk about transparency. Everybody in the world can watch those cabinet meetings,
But
right?
it's interesting that he all in it during the election time, he always say that he does not like the media, but yet he is so, how can I say, the media loves him.
Well,
That's
the legacy
our
media
the
doesn't love him. They
right,
they are constantly trying to trap him, and they're constantly trying to use this war to make him look bad.
right. He's like the ever ready b- bunny,
The
the
energy
commercial,
bunny.
the energy
Right.
bunny. No matter what you do, he keeps on running and keeps on going.
Right.
Which is
And there are
fascinating.
so many people that say they get texts from him at 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning,
Sleep.
and they call him and he's up and he's talking to them and he wants to talk. And then, you know, 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning, he's meeting a head of state and he's talking to the press on the way there, and, all of this kind of thing. This is really, really unique. And it is not behavior that we've ever seen before. And so I'm not promoting Trump. I am trying to objectively remember my approach with trust and obey is that there's a famine of the word of God, and that with 647, there is a famine of the truth. My interest is just getting the truth out there once I'm able to document it. And so these tie-ins and the way that we see the most powerful people at that time react to this, and it just determine, well, we have to kill people because we can't deal with them. And that's still going on now. Nothing new under the sun. All right, let's continue. Meaning, there are two of us, so we're within your law. Then they said to him, where is your father? Of course, they assume they know, and they think that Joseph the carpenter is his father. They think they know all about him. Jesus answered, you know neither me nor my father. If you had known me, you would have known my father also. These words Jesus spoke in the treasury as he taught in the temple, and no one laid hands on him, for his hour had not yet come. So that is a hugely important piece of information, because the apostles are constantly worried that he's going to be killed and they're going to be killed. And he's saying, we don't have to worry about these people. This whole thing has been choreographed. I know when I'm going to be killed. I know the manner of it. I know what's going to lead up to it. I know the things that I have to do before that happens. And I would submit to you that that is also why we are not supposed to be afraid of death. Why we as Christians, the more we read and study these things, should be able to lose our physical fear of threat. Because God says the hairs on our head are numbered. And if he determines that there is a time and place and manner of your death, there's nothing you're going to do about it. And Jesus is saying it is that tightly choreographed. And so I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried about their threat. I'm not worried that when they pick up stones in this place and attempt to stone me to death, that I'm just going to walk out of here because there are thousands of people around him in that treasury. So let's look at that. So that's a significant point in all of this that his disciples don't understand at all. They're afraid constantly of the attack of the temple guards and that Jesus will be stoned and that they may be killed also. And Jesus is following God's itinerary for this whole span of time right up to his death. He knows that there is a specific time and place and manner in which he will die. So he's not concerned about any of these threats or attempts. Then the Jews answered and said to him, "Do we not say rightly that you are a Samaritan and a demon?" So here's what they're doing. They're insulting the Son of God to his face. Samaritan is a racial slur from that time. It means you're a Jew who sleeps with pagans. There's no one lower. So we're calling you a Samaritan and have a demon. In other words, we figured out that the only way you do any of these miracles is because you are demon possessed. Now, that should have gotten a rise out of Jesus, but it doesn't. Jesus answered, "I do not have a demon, but I honor my Father, and you dishonor me. And I do not seek my own glory. There is one who seeks and judges. Most assuredly, I say to you, if anyone keeps my word, he shall never see death." Then the Jews said to him, "Now we know that you have a demon. Abraham is dead and the prophets. And you say, if anyone keeps my word, he shall never taste death. Are you greater than our father Abraham, who is dead, and the prophets are dead? Who do you make yourself out to be?" Jesus answered, "If I honor myself, my honor is nothing. It is my Father who honors me, of whom you say that he is your God. Yet you have not known him, but I know him. And if I say, I do not know him, I shall be a liar like you. But I do know him and keep his word. Your father Abraham rejoiced to see my day, and he saw it and was glad." Then the Jews said to him, "You are not yet 50 years old, and have you seen Abraham?" Jesus said to them, "Most assuredly, I say to you, before Abraham was, I am." Then they took up stones to throw at him, but Jesus hid himself and went out of the temple, going through the midst of them, and so passed by. So imagine a crowd surrounding him of thousands of people. And as he walks towards them, they give place to him, right? Because of who he is. And then immediately as he passes people, they close in behind him because they all want to be close to him. So there's absolutely no way that temple guards or anyone can get to him. In a matter of seconds, he's deep into this crowd and has a barrier, and then they can't even see him. And he's gone. That's not even a miracle that he disappears. There is such a throng around him that as he pushes towards them, they open, and as soon as he passes in, they close behind him. And there's absolutely no way to get him because people are giving place as he walks forward and closing up behind him. And he just happens to be Emmanuel, God with us. And all of these things happen for a reason, and God's controlling it all. Now they go away out of Judea just to not have the distraction of, this constant murderous group after him, because the deep state in the temple is putting out a price on his head and all of these things. The same thing that we see when they wanted to murder Paul, and they're constantly having groups of armed men wait to take him out. So Jesus just takes the whole group out of the area because he wants this time to be spent edifying them so that they listen to him teaching people and see him healing people, and this will eventually be their job. So it says, now a certain man was sick, Lazarus of Bethany, the town of Mary and her sister Martha. I explained to you why it's explained that way. It was that Mary, who anointed the Lord with fragrant oil and wiped his feet with her hair, whose brother Lazarus was sick. Therefore the sisters sent to him, saying, Lord, behold, he whom you love is sick. When Jesus heard that, he said, this sickness is not unto death, but for the glory of God, that the Son of God may be glorified through it. Now that is a significant sentence. What he's saying is, this is going to be very important, not just for my disciples to see this, not just for the manner and how many days until we do it, but the fact that there are hundreds of people on this property between the house where the mourners are and the tomb. And they're only 2 miles from Jerusalem. So there are 2 groups of mourners there. There are the people who really care about Mary and Martha. And then there are the people who were sent by the deep state temple folks to spy and to make sure they report anything that goes on. So Jesus said, this sickness is not unto death, meaning he's not going to be dead, but for the glory of God, that the Son of God may be glorified through it. So now Jesus loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus. So when he heard that he was sick, he stayed 2 more days in the place where he was. Then after this, he said to the disciples, let's go to Judea again. Now, there's a lot going on in 4 and 5. This is a super significant moment in what happens in Easter. And Jesus is saying, there's a specific place and time for my death, and there is a specific time for the resurrection of Lazarus. And in this case, it is 4 days. When the messenger took off to bring this message to Jesus, Lazarus was still alive. By the time he found Jesus, Lazarus had died, and Jesus knew it, but the messenger did not. So now Jesus says, we're going to wait 2 days, and then we're basically a day's travel. So we're going to get there on the 4th day. Why would he do that so rigidly? It is because the rabbis in the temple taught that when you died, your soul hung around your body for 3 days, hoping that something might happen that would cause a reunion of soul and body, and then it would have a home, the same old home as before, and go on from there. But if it went from the third to the fourth day, then an obvious decay started to happen to the body, and the soul would realize that there's no way to make that a home anymore, and it would move on. So Jesus knows the importance of this miracle, and he does not want them to have any argument that it wasn't that at all. It is exactly what the rabbis taught. He did it on the second or the third day, and the soul was nearby, jumped in, and that's what made Lazarus live again. It's this crazy. It's just as crazy now as we see people trying to do good, and they have to dance around and go the long way around the barn to be able to do good because of all of these demoniacs trying to find any reason to stop it or to accuse it of evil or whatever. It's all the same thing. So Jesus says he stayed 2 more days in the place where he was. Then after this, he said to the disciples, let's go to Judea again. And the disciples said to him, Rabbi, lately the Jews sought to stone you, and are you going there again? And Jesus answered, are there not 12 hours in the day? If anyone walks in the day, he does not stumble because he sees the light of this world. So what does he mean by that? There's lots of different interpretations, but I think the one that applies to the circumstance they're in and what he's trying to say to them is, you're worried about going back there with the Son of God, and you're worried that I might be killed and that you might be killed. And what I'm telling you is there are 12 hours in the day, and anyone walks in the day, he does not stumble because he sees the light of this world. What he's saying is that day is your lifetime. It's like that rope talk with that inch, okay? That inch of red. That's what you get. And he's saying, so there's a specific beginning and ending to your life. And it's the same thing with my life. And God has a specific time and place and manner of my death. And it is coming up relatively quickly, but nobody can rush it. So I'm not worried about any of the temple hitmen. Then Jesus said, but if one walks in the night, he stumbles because the light is not in him. These things he said, and after that he said to them, our friend Lazarus sleeps, but I go that I may wake him up. So what is he saying to us in that sentence? He's saying that there's no getting around physical death, but it's temporary. It is like sleep. There's an end point to it, and I wake you up from it, and I'm going to wake Lazarus up from it. Then his disciples said, Lord, if he sleeps, he will get well. However, Jesus spoke of his death, but they thought he was speaking about taking rest in sleep. These disciples are a little obtuse. They never really get with the way in which Jesus is talking to them. Then Jesus said to them plainly, Lazarus is dead, and I am glad for your sakes that I was not there, that you may believe. Nevertheless, let us go to him. So that's a mouthful to them. They've heard the messenger come and say, Lazarus is sick. Please hurry and come and save him. And Jesus says, Lazarus is sleeping. It's okay. I will wake him up. And they go, well, if he's sleeping, we don't have to go there. So why should we risk our lives? He'll wake up from the sleep and he'll get better. And he's going, oi, Lazarus is dead. That's a shocker for them. How come the messenger didn't know that? Because he's Jesus Christ. He knows it. And then he said, listen, if you heard this sentence from these people who are scared to death to go to Bethany, Lazarus is dead. They all just heard the messenger say, Lazarus is sick. Please come. And they don't want to go. And then he says, Lazarus is dead. For all we know, the messenger is still there. I mean, this is tough stuff for all these people. And Jesus says, not only is he dead, but I'm glad for your sakes that I was not there. What if the messenger takes that back? I don't even know. I'm glad for your sakes that I was not there, that you may believe. And then he goes, nevertheless, let us go to him. You can see it's too much. They just don't get it. They can't follow along. And honestly, who could? Who could? It's all coming too fast and furious. And then, just for a surprise to us, Thomas, who is called Didymus, the twin, said to his fellow disciples, let us also go, that we may die with him. Now remember, this is the guy that we have named a colloquialism in our culture called Don't Be a Doubting Thomas, because he said, I'm not going to believe Jesus rose from the dead unless I get to stick my fingers in his womb. So this is the same guy, and he's saying, let us also go that we may die with him. So as in all times, including our times, there is no loss of physical courage among the populace. There's all kinds of people who say, I'll fight to the death. What we don't have is moral courage, and what we really don't have is people who can reason things out, who can take the information given and assess it and apply it. And Thomas is not one of those guys, because though he is expressing physical bravery, though he is expressing a heart for Jesus Christ, he's going to see Lazarus raised from the dead. And then he's going to say, I don't believe Jesus resurrected from what I saw. And I won't believe it until I can stick my fingers in those nail holes. That's not the guy you want holding the nuclear codes. All right, so when Jesus came, he found that he had already been in the tomb 4 days. He found it was all by design. Now, Bethany was near Jerusalem, about 2 miles. So there's a lot of going back and forth. And these people all knew that Lazarus and Mary and Martha were good friends with Jesus Christ. So this, in CIA terms, is a probable meet location, right? Meeting location. And so they got all their spies dressed as mourners all over the place, devoutly mourning Lazarus. And there are a whole bunch of people who love this family, and they're there also. And so there's a lot of people coming and going, and there's a lot of spies in this group. Then Martha, as soon as she heard that Jesus was coming, went and met him. But Mary was sitting in the house. So any questions up to this point? You're starting to see how elaborate this whole plan is? That's going to, once Jesus raises Lazarus from the dead, that's the tipping point for the Sanhedrin. Now they need an absolute, no-fail, kill Jesus plan. And this is what's going to put it all into play. Mary's in the house with all the mourners, and there's lots of spies in that group because they figure that's where the action's going to happen. And Martha knows they're in there, and she wants to be able to talk with Jesus without nasty people listening. And so she gets up and goes and meets him on the way there. So then Martha, as soon as she heard that Jesus was coming, went and met him. but Mary was sitting in the house. Now Martha said to Jesus, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. But even now, I know that whatever you ask of God, God will give you. And Jesus said to her, your brother will rise again. And Martha said to him, I know he will rise again in the resurrection at the last day. And Jesus said to her, I am the resurrection and the life. He who believes in me, though he may die, he shall live. And whoever lives and believes in me shall never die. Do you believe this? She said to him, yes, Lord. I believe that you are the Christ, the Son of God, who is to come into the world. So she's having this dialogue with Jesus. She wants him to say, well, of course I'm going to raise him right now. He'll be back with you for dinner. And instead, she thinks he's talking theologically about the life after death. And he says, hey, I'm the resurrection and the life. He who believes in me, though he may die, he shall live. And whoever lives and believes in me shall never die. Do you believe this? And so now she's bound up because she believes it, but she wants something specific for Lazarus right now because she loves him. And she thinks this is his last chance to be back with them again. And so she just falls back on, she can't answer the question. What she can say is what her core belief is. And so she says, yes, Lord, I believe that you are the Christ, the Son of God, who is to come into the world, meaning the Messiah who is come to save us. She states every single major belief point for a Christian. And she does not contest with him anymore about what the immediate future is of her deceased brother. Let's continue. Then Jesus, again groaning in himself, came to the tomb. It was a cave, and a stone lay against it. And Jesus said, take away the stone. Now, Jesus, again, groaning in himself. We don't know what that means. And so that's like a reason for 10,000 PhDs in theology to do a super study on that and deliver their dissertation and the whole thing. So I'll just shortcut that to my own dissertation. I believe that Jesus loved Lazarus. I believe that Jesus knows that Lazarus is out of his body and in glory. And that because Lazarus was a special guy, God decided to give him a special mission. And so Jesus is now going to call him from glory back into his body. So this is unusual. And not only is he coming back into his old, weak body, but people are going to try to kill him from this miracle forward for the rest of his life. And so he's not included in any of the other gospels until after 70 AD. Why? Because the temple's destroyed, because the chief priest is murdered, because all of these people that want Lazarus dead, that want Paul dead, that killed James, and that arranged for the murder of Jesus Christ, they're all gone. But they're all around during the time of Matthew and Mark. So this story is not in either one of those gospels. So I'll start again. Then Jesus, again groaning in himself, came to the tomb. It was a cave, and a stone lay against it. And Jesus said, "Take away the stone." And Martha, she's having a crisis of faith here, the sister of him who was dead, said to him, "Lord, by this time there is a stench, for he has been dead 4 days." So they all know the 3 and 4 day rule with the rabbis. And she doesn't believe that on the 4th day this can happen. And she doesn't want Jesus, whom she loves dearly, to be embarrassed by trying to do a miracle on a dead body on the 4th day and it not happening. And all of these terrible people that are around them are going to run to Jerusalem and say, "Here we go, false prophet." Jesus said to her, "Did I not say to you that if you would believe, you would see the glory of God?" Because she's not believing in this moment. It's all too awful and challenging, and you can empathize with her. She's just saying, "Hey, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. Don't try to do this. This is going to wreck everything." And he says, "Didn't I say to you that you would believe, that you would see, that if you believe, you'd see the glory of God?" Then they took away the stone from the place where the dead man was lying. And Jesus lifted up his eyes and said, "Father, I thank you that you have heard me. And I know that you always hear me. But because of the people who are standing by, I said this, that they may believe that you sent me." Now, when he had said these things, he cried out in a loud voice, "Lazarus, come forth." There's a parallel to the trumpet sounding at the final resurrection. And he who had died came out bound, hand and foot, with grave clothes, and his face was wrapped with a cloth. Jesus said to them, "Loose him and let him go." Then many of the Jews who had come to Mary and had seen the things Jesus did believed in him. So this was a huge miracle, and people immediately were coming to faith. But some of them went away to the Pharisees and told them the things Jesus did. So this is still going on in our day, and it's still going on in Trump's second term, that Laura Loomer found out all of these people who were leaking on Trump that he thought were good, and he fired them all as soon as she presented the proof. So even here where this wonderful thing happens, Satan is present trying to deny it. So then the chief priests and the council, the Pharisees, gathered a council and said, "What shall we do? For this man works many signs. If we let him alone like this, everyone will believe in him. And the Romans will come and take away both our place and our nation." Now, that's not really an honest appraisal of what they were afraid of. What they were afraid of is they would lose their power and their money that came from exploiting that power. It's the exact same things when the rhinos and the Democrats in the Senate go, "We can't let this happen. What will happen to democracy if we don't go to Ukraine?" And one of them, Caiaphas, being high priest that year, said to them, "Nothing at all. Nor do you consider that it is expedient for us that one man should die for the people, and not that the whole nation should perish." So he's come up with the strategy. We're going to kill this one guy, And then our power and our financial base will not perish. Couldn't care less about the people. It's like the Dems always talking about the children. They're the group that harms the children. So now he did not say on his own authority, but being high priest that year, he prophesied that Jesus would die for the nation, and not for that nation only, but also that he would gather together in one the children of God who were scattered abroad. Then from that day on, they plotted to put him to death. Questions on any of this? Comments? We're
This
very
is
close. Go
this is
ahead.
this is what you say the plot thickens, right?
That's right. That's right. But what's amazing is that this was all worked out ahead of time. And that's hard to get your mind around as a Christian because the Bible says in over 900 places, be anxious for nothing. Be anxious for nothing because I already know all the details of your life. And I have a plan to give you a hope and a future. And when we look at some other people's lives, especially when horrible things befall them, we're wondering, what do you mean? And all of these people who are interacting with Jesus are saying, what do you mean? 1 minute, we hear Lazarus is sick, then you say he's asleep, then you say he's dead, then you say he's going to rise again from the dead, and we're thinking you're speaking philosophically about the faith, and later on the second coming, and yet you mean, no, I'm going to raise him up. That's why we came here. I'm going to resurrect him. You're going to see a dead man walk out of that tomb. So for us, it all changes like that in our lives too. We think we know what should happen in our lives, and we pray that God will intervene in that manner, and something else entirely happens. And sometimes circumstances come together in a way that you go, how could that have ever happened? And many times it takes you getting some distance on the other side to look back and say, oh my God, I thought that was all the most horrible thing in the world. And yet look at the place it delivered me to, which is now rich with blessing.
Chuck,
Yeah,
I think you mentioned in the past there was a passage where a Roman general, whatever, came to Jesus and said that my servant is sick or whatever. And then Jesus says, because of your faith, he's healed.
right,
That Jesus didn't have to go there to
right.
make that. And yet at the same time, here you just talked about how, was it Mary or Martha that says that you are the Son of God. You're the, she recognizes Jesus' power, but yet the next chapter, the very next paragraph, they're doubting him. I mean, do you see the contrast of how
Absolutely,
what they
because
say and what they're like? They say they recognize who Jesus is, but yet they're afraid that Jesus cannot do the job. I don't understand that. Really.
okay, because look at our own world. Most of us get the majority of our information over our life from the television, right? And so the television is constantly preaching things to worry about, things to be anxious about, things that are inadequacies and injustices and all of this. And it gets you riled up and anxious. And God is saying, that is all the work of the devil. Okay? You don't need to be anxious for anything. What you need to do is trust me. And when the sisters are saying to him, don't roll that stone away, it's day 4. They've all been taught that from the time they were toddlers, that that the soul is around here for 3 days, so let's communicate in whatever way we can. But day 4, the body starts to rot and the soul leaves, and so there's no possibility of a miracle in the 4th day. And that's what they believe, and there's no changing that. And so he says, roll the stone away, and they're going, oh my gosh, there's all these witnesses and all these deep state people, and they're going to run and say, Jesus tried to raise Lazarus, but he was a rotting body and gone, and Jesus didn't understand that. So we finally found the chink in his armor, and he's a fake. That's what the sisters believe, and they love him so much, and they believe in the faith, but their belief is not deep enough for it to prevail over the thing that they were told over and over and over again, from childhood to adulthood. And we all have some of those things, and they conflict with our Christian faith. I can tell you one of the things for me that God is teaching me all the time is this issue of scarcity. I always think there's not enough time, there's not enough energy, there's not enough information. It's all scarcity mentality. And God is saying that there's no scarcity in my world. Everything happens according to plan. And that's the dimension that Jesus brings to this whole story is, look, I'm not worried about temple guards. I'm not worried about somebody who's sick or then dies or whatever. If it is important that that person be raised from the dead, God will do that for me. And so he says, thank you for hearing me. I know you always hear me, but you're allowing this to happen because it's going to glorify the Son of God. And it does. But the glory of it, that so many people come to faith because he raised somebody on the 4th day, which is like a double miracle. It's also going to be the thing that is the catalyst that kicks off the plan to condemn him and to crucify him. So we're 5 minutes over. We're not done with this. What do you think about this? Do you enjoy studying this way? I don't have a plan for this forever, but I do have 4 parts of this leading up to Easter.
It's suspense. It's like a mystery. It's suspense. Wait till next week.
Is it hard to listen to this? Has it become boring as opposed to a regular class where we're going through the slide deck?
No, this is great.
It is
Okay,
great.
good.
And I already listened to it once Saturday.
Right.
And
so is it boring if you heard it and then you're doing this?
No, it's even it was better for me.
Okay.
Yeah, it was because I don't have a good Bible history. And so these things I never knew. So reading it twice is great.
Okay. Well, then we'll pick it up right from here next Tuesday.
You know, I'm grateful that you mentioned the fact that the story Lazarus was not mentioned in previous gospels, and I didn't realize that because they
were trying to protect him.
Exactly. I didn't realize. I thought that each of the gospel writer maybe wrote different aspects of Jesus's life, and God ordained that way. I didn't realize that there was a
such a time lag.
Right. I didn't realize that until you told me
40 years.
This is yeah. Now I understand why they were not all mentioned in the same manner.
Right. And it's amazing that the threat was so big and went on for so long that those first 2 gospel writers, Matthew and Mark, just did not talk about the most amazing miracle that Jesus ever did. Think about that.
Is this your surmise, or was this a historical fact that you have realized that, it was written this way?
Well, this is not purely me surmising it. It's from reading historians and reading scholars, and some of them refute this based on the same evidence. We all get the same evidence. And then what makes the most sense in the totality of what God teaches us in the Bible? To me, this interpretation makes the same sense. But I'm not the author of it. It's the amalgamation of studying, multiple people, all with different theories. And some of them do part of this, and then they go off in some other direction.
Is this Luke's writing? Is this
Excuse me?
Is this Luke's gospel, the one you're reading off right now?
No, this is John.
John, okay. Because the way all the scientific fact about, I was thinking this was from Luke, because from doctor perspective, the body, the raising from the dead, is very logical the way he puts together. I didn't realize it was from John. Okay.
Yeah. And John was the last one to write. Okay. So great. I'm glad that this worked, because Pat and I put a lot of time in on this. I think the first time was a year ago, or maybe before that. And we didn't have a lot of exposure for it. And so to me, each year when this comes up and I go through these things again, and I think this is powerful. It gives so much more meaning to Easter. And, we tend to focus on the triumphal entry into Jerusalem, and then we go right to the crucifixion. And to see all of what Jesus was involved in leading up to this, at least to me, it deepens my faith.
Thank you. I never thought of it this way before, the way that this sequence of events that led to it.
Right. That's why, sorry, this one's called Lazarus Come Forth.
Thank you for teaching it this way.
All right. Thank you all very much. I'm glad you enjoyed it, and I'll look forward to continuing to present it.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay.
Today is Pat's birthday. Happy birthday, Pat.
Today's whose birthday? Pat's?
Pat.
Oh, happy birthday, Pat.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chuck.
Well, thank you, Marcy.
Thank you.
Good night.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye.
Got to write down where we stopped. Verse 45. Then I'll misplace this pad, and it'll all be a great drama. All right. Here we go. Tony, we missed you last week. I want you to know David ratted you out.